Mr. Chris Ryan, welcome to Damnation Versus. How are you, pal?
Yeah, good man, good man. Pleasure to be here. How's life on your end?
I'm good, man, I'm good. Listen, I'm wearing a Party Cannon t-shirt that isn't mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened at Damnation is we sold your guys' merch, and it was, you must have left a bunch, I think there's about 5 t-shirts that I left in my gym downstairs. So when I was wrapping some Christmas presents for the Waynes, I was like, oh shit, there's a guy's fucking merch there. So I get a wee bit of advertising for you. It's slightly big. I'm one of the, like, I know we're in the bodybuilder scene, I like to wear a medium that kind of hugs me.
Yeah, I know, I'm feeling well, man. I'll go just medium, extra medium.
How are you anyway? All good?
Yeah, good man, doing well. Just played our last gig of the year in Manchester with, John Badger runs Badger Fest.
Yes.
Yeah, he had us on for, some last Christmas event. Finished that, so this is done for a year. Considering I expected to play no gigs this year, it's actually gone pretty well.
Aye, but listen, it seems I've kind of been plugged into the Party Cannon machine a wee bit in this last 6 months, and I feel like I know everything about you with the gigs I've played. So before we get started, firstly, I'll return all your merch to you. That's the first thing. I'm not stealing your merch. Next time I see you in Glasgow, I'll make sure that's returned. But I think you're my first Scottish guest, so there's 2 things that I want to clear up quite quickly. One is, every time I read an interview or a review of Party Cannon, you seem to be for a different part of the map. I've seen you Dundee, Fife, Edinburgh, Glasgow. So I don't know if it's just English reviewers that's saying somewhere up there up north of the wall. What's the script? Where are you from?
Right, so the original lineup from Party Cannon is all from Dunfermline. We're like a Fife-based band.
Yep.
Anytime someone asks, I always say we're a Dunfermline band. But at the moment, I kind of say Glasgow like a kind of main hub, because 2 are new. I say new members have been in band like 7-8 years now, but they both live in Glasgow. So, and there's no real like metal scene in Dunfermline.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was like a metal club and stuff, but it wasn't like a scene, if it makes sense. So anytime we played gigs, it was always Glasgow. It was always Edinburgh. No one really knows where Dunfermline is. Anytime someone asks where Dunfermline is, I'm like, oh, it's near Edinburgh, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's where it kind of comes from, because like we're doing a hometown gig next year, which is to be announced at some point. But that's going to be in Glasgow rather than Dunfermline.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it makes sense. And also, I imagine if you ask that question every now and then, you might as well just say, but I had to say, in the space of a day, I read 3 different reviews from Damnation, and you went from Dundee to Fife to Glasgow. I was like, that's a fair jaunt for a Scottish band to be wasting the whole fucking Central Belt.
I was like, I should correct that guy and tell him we're not from Dundee. I was like, is that really a win? Tell them we're from Dunfermline. like, what is the positive outcome of that?
Just say Edinburgh. Fuck it. Just say Edinburgh. That's the one for it. And the second thing, for again people who don't live in Scotland and see Scotland as a wee town in North England, they'll probably be surprised that I sound like I live under a bridge and drink Tennent's, and you sound like a fucking James Bond baddie. So where is this? Where's this accent? Because I know people from Dunfermline and Fife, they don't sound quite as proper as you.
My family's kind of from all over the place. Like, we're just from Ireland, and moved over, and then it was dad grew up in Glasgow, my mom grew up in Edinburgh, but they've all lived around as well. And it's just kind of like a mix of everything. I don't think I sound too Fife compared to other people from Fife.
You don't?
But like some people think I'm American and things like that. I don't know if it's just a result of my family kind of living about the place, because I lived in Dunfermline like my whole life. So even growing up, you're like, where are you from? I was like, pretty sure I'm from here.
Fucking Orange County. Dunfermline. You do that. There is definitely an American twang in there. So I can. It's nice to have someone else for Scotland that doesn't sound so much like as I say, a guy who lives under a bridge drinking Tennent's. So where to start? Let's start with Damnation.
Yeah, man, it's fucking amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Tell me, let's talk about the whole process. A lot of people were turned on to Party Cannon at Damnation, saw them for the first time at Damnation. It kind of snowballed all the merch stuff we've done, and then you guys playing to fucking almost 600 people. So I know what it was like for my side of things, but talk me through, even just getting the offer right through to playing it, what it was like for you guys.
So I never expected a band like Party Cannon to play Damnation. My understanding of Damnation is while being one of the biggest UK fests going for like extreme metal, there was always more like post black metal, doom, maybe like old school death metal. My friend's band Distant played it one year. We know them for quite a few years, but it's a bit different. Like they're on the Dying Fetus tour package, and people have always like said to me, "If Dying Fetus can play festivals like this, and why can't you?" As I go, Dying Fetus are Dying Fetus. They can play anything. Yeah, it's like it doesn't. They could put out anything. It's the fucking ticket sales that do it, man. So, but yeah, so it's like it's always been kind of like a maybe not like an alien entity to me, but I've always respected it. It's always been there. It's never really been something I've been like, Party will play this one day, because obviously, yeah, I just not really that caliber of band in a way.
Yeah.
So when obviously the American stuff, all the American bands were having to cancel their appearances because of COVID and our restrictions and stuff, I saw you put up a post being like, "Here's some bands that are likely to play. Let me know which ones you like." And like our name was in there. I was like, "What the fuck? Like, are people actually asking for Party Can to play Damnation?" So like that's awesome. If we get offered to play, that'd be amazing. But I was really kind of skeptical how it would go down, because the bands that pulled out were like Pig Destroyer, Immolation, Abigail, like Blood Incantation as well. I was like, that's a very specific niche of death metal that we don't quite fit. Yeah. I can't imagine like the Venn diagram where the Blood Incantation fans are turning up in their leather jackets being like, "Oh, I really want to see Party Can instead." That's like a, but we're gonna offer it. Fuck it, need to do this as like a staple of like the UK scene. So probably maybe an only chance we might get to play. Obviously not lineup for next year, and that's insane. It looks fucking nuts. So yeah, like cool. Let's definitely do this. Let's really make this happen. And when like the response that was insane. Like I couldn't believe how many people were excited to see us. Like I actually want to see us on Damnation, because my thought process was, since people had bought tickets to see Immolation and Incantation stuff, they'd be like, all right. So I keep saying Immolation. It's Incantation that's playing.
It's Incantation, yeah. It's Incantation.
Yeah, it's my bad. Yeah, I actually kind of assumed they'd be like, oh fuck, I'll just go watch like another band at this point, because I know there's like many stages going on. I assumed we'd probably there'd be people who want to see us there, maybe seen us before. Again, we know a lot of people in Leeds. I thought they'd turn up to see us. Like, there's all mates in the crowd. That's fun. But when we turn up, 1,600 people, it's packed. People were getting turned away, or maybe not turned away, couldn't like actually fit in the venue where we were playing.
Yeah.
Got like an insane reception for like 2:00 in the afternoon. You did the whole merch run as well, which went down pretty well.
Yeah, because for me, it wasn't quite so. There's a bunch of bands I've probably got just in my head, like 10, 15 bands in the UK that they've always been in the radar. There's also there's a Scottish band called Sectioned that I've always quite like Sectioned as well, but I never got to them. Never really get back to Man Must Die. They played the last time was in 2006 or 2007. Bunch of English bands that never. But it's the same as you say. Dying Feet to show up and they say, right, see for an extra few quid you can have Psychroptic and fucking Disentombed, right? And you're like, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? And like,
yeah, totally.
We don't take all the tour supports that are offered to us, but and a lot of times the tour support of the bands we book are excellent. So then the bill starts to get very heavy with European, Australian, Japanese, American bands, and suddenly these slots you've got available to offer, the Party Cannons and the Sections and these other bands, they're just not there. So yeah, that was one thing. It's not the fact that Party Can weren't a surprise to me, and I always knew at some point in the line an offer would get made, but it did take losing 26 American bands to offer those same slots to everyone, to all those bands that eventually showed up, the Woods and the Cryptic Shifts, and even Man Must Die coming back and getting a chance to play that. But after that decision was made, you were right, it just started, the snowball started, and you just seem to be one of those bands that people really, really bought into. At what point, I mean, I know you're saying at the time when you're booked, you're thinking, oh, we're going to go down here and play to 50 people, and fair enough, we'll tick it off the list. But at what point did you realise that, no, there is actually, because you've sort of integrated yourself with the Damnation community as well, so you could see that there was a real buzz, even for the merch that was getting. So when did you start thinking, listen, we might go down here and play to 1,000 people?
I think it's probably before we actually maybe got an offer. When you put the post asking what bands people wanted, I was surprised how many people were saying Party Can. Like, I never asked people to like go and vote for us or anything like that. Like, it's not really my vibe. But I don't know if it was like a voting system I don't go. But like nearly like third post to get Party Can on. Party Can will be perfect for this festival. Like, okay, cool. Maybe people actually don't want to see her. And our guitarist Mike, he'd been to Damnation a few times, and he was like telling us, like, no, man, like people there are up for like nonsense music. Are we good? Like, thank you. I believe you. But then when it was announced, it was again shared. I remember it's always Twitter. It seems to be where it starts off first. Everyone's just like, fucking Park Canada join us. And then you released the color version of the poster, and everyone's like freaking out. Like, enough people campaigned to get Park Canada's logo and color in the poster, but now it's like taken off. But yeah, just things like that. Like, oh, we're actually going to go down, and people actually are going to be into this.
Yeah.
So not only are we going to play one of the big sets in the UK, people actually want us to be there. So yeah, nice surprise. To be honest.
Brilliant. We're definitely gonna touch on that whole logo situation later on. But that question you've never been asked in an interview before, so that was so you get there. You've been very. I've read the interviews now. I've saw a podcast you've done with the chap, the Irish podcast, and very complimentary towards them. In fact, you sent me an email saying that it was absolutely top draw, enjoyed it. I really appreciated you doing that, and I'm glad you guys.
It was like amazing.
And I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. But when you're actually there as well, not so much me, but I stood beside the stage and watched it. It was at 2 o'clock. We do get busy bands from the day the doors open, but not that busy. That busy was Cannibal Corpse was busy, and then you guys added a layer with the inflatables and the sharks. So I mean, when you're playing, you're like fucking hell. Was it a great show for you as well as like sound and the way everything goes? Sometimes you speak to artists afterwards. I thought it was an amazing show, and they say no, actually it was terrible because I couldn't hear the drummer's snare or something. You know what I mean?
Oh man, like I'm used to playing like fucking sheds, like on the other side of the world. So like having monitors is always like a plus. Like, I'm just so used to just going on stage. Like I never even asked for anything different on my monitor. I'm just so used to playing tiny, like fucking squat shows that anything is fine. So we'll just roll with anything. But it was such a good gig for us that one of our songs went horrendously. Like a brand new song released the day before. Guitars was changing the strings. We didn't have a backup guitar because apparently we're that professional. And while we were playing, the drummer's snare mic fell off and like landed on the snare. And at one point, our guitarist stopped playing, so it was just me and the drummer playing out of time together, and we're just laughing. It was such a good gig that something like that like could knock it. Even that, it didn't even seem like a fucking issue because crowd were into it. The whole vibe was amazing. That even things like that couldn't like take it out at all.
Couldn't knock off track. And the thing is about Damnation, as you mentioned, I mean, it is a big date on the UK metal scene calendar. But because of the time of year, we attract a lot of the industry types as well. So your manager was at side stage, guy who runs Manor Fest there, people for Bloodstock are there. There's a lot of eyes on Damnation. We've got a lot of press there. When you were end up in Kerrang, you got a sentence in Metal Hammer. There was fucking reviews left, right, and centre. You know what I mean? That £8 sentence you got.
That's right, man. Worth every £8.
So, was there a reaction afterwards to getting in front of that crowd that you noticed there was something different for that gig to other gigs?
Yeah, a lot of people like I've never like seen before or seen like even like on forums or anything. Because the real death metal community in the UK is quite tight knit, so you're bound to come across most people in some capacity in some way. You're bound to recognise faces. Like most vocal people, you're always going to notice. There's people I've never seen before. Being like Park Canada, a big surprise for me. Like band with fest. Most people being like, "Oh, give us a band a chance." I didn't know what to think, and it was fucking amazing. So people are like, "Oh, I did not expect to get swept up in it," but when I was doing push-ups on the ground, it's like, yeah. Then we're in, like I said, we're in Kerrang. Like that was pretty surreal. Top 10 most metal moments was inflatables of Park Can. So
it was
really
hard
unexpected.
It's hard not to be. And then so by that point had the Manor Fest offer already been made pre-Damnation?
Yes, I'm not sure if we had been announced for it before then, but we were booked before it. I know Wayne was there, so I think I think he's quite happy to see us. Like, cool, spend money wisely. They can actually play their songs. So it's always our risk.
Absolutely. It just, do you know what part of Canon at Damnation was it was a perfect storm as well, because it's what everyone needed. You know what I mean? It was we'd all been locked out of gigs for 18 months. A lot of people at Damnation, that was their first time back. I mean, I'd been at shows before. You'd played some shows before Damnation, but for a lot of people, it was their time back, and they wanted, as you say, fun nonsense. They wanted to go and enjoy the fact that they were back in mosh pits and fucking doing push-ups. And then you guys level up even further. I mean, every band can get everybody in a circle pit or whatever, but not a lot of bands get people doing half-naked push-ups in slow circle pits. So
that's it. I think
Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think there was a level of catharsis there. Like people just pitting up so much, like over lockdown and stuff, and they weren't even sure Damnation was gonna happen. So when it came to our set, like this is the perfect time just to just go as nuts as possible. Just release a year of lockdown energy.
Absolutely, and I'm glad it worked out so well. And then did you get a chance to afterwards? You guys straight back up the road. Did you know you were hanging about for a bit? Didn't you? To catch a bit more of the festival. Was there any other, any other shows that you enjoyed?
Definitely, obviously, Quirks are my band of the night. To be honest, Quirks are one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm one of those annoying people who only like the first 3 Quirks albums. Everyone after that is like they're dead to me after that. But he played lots of songs I actually liked, which I was really surprised of. I knew they were going to be good. It's always fun to watch Carcass. They're like a really amazing band. All the songs are classics. Even if it's not to my taste, they're like classic songs. So you know them, you enjoy them. But he played so many songs I liked, and he opened with like a bunch of songs I actually wanted to hear. So I was like perfect. And it was like I've seen Carcass a few times before, and this is the best time, best he's been. And it was insane. So I was like, just the right way to cap off. But other bands really enjoyed it. Conjure were really good.
Yeah.
Like I was surprised how much I enjoyed them. I always known a really good band. I've listened a few times. It's not obviously my scene, but when I saw them, I was like, fuck, this is insane. I was like, so into it. Like I went home and like instantly became a fan. Like re-listened it again, and like it just clicked for me. Conan were amazing. Like something about Conan's sound is just so nauseating. It's just so bass heavy that and now as well it's like horrendous for your health. Just like fucking having that frequency like pummeling your system. Video Nasties were awesome.
Yeah. I was at Video Nasties were one of those sets. Hellripper and Video Nasties are 2 of the sets that I never get down to. That I'm really pretty good. Pretty good about me. You're just not going to catch. It doesn't matter how you play. You're not going to catch everything. But it was the feedback and just the reviews for like Video Nasties and Hellripper just seemed to be like they were sets. You feel like fuck it. I should definitely have been in there to catch a wee bit. Like I never caught the full party cannon set either. You're just not going to manage everything. But it was definitely good to do. And what's like with the podcast, or the whole point of doing this is to try and get into the mix and stuff. Now, when I've got folk on, it tends to be where I've got the bassist for Bosk or the drummer from Raging Speedhorn or Brady for the Conjurer. It's not the way that magazine we say, oh, let's get the singer up here, up front and then get what he's got to say. And the reason for that is because these bands tend to have an unofficial band manager. Somebody who just gets landed with that job and doing all the shite. You know what I mean? Probably not paid at all for it. But you're the unofficial tour manager, the unofficial manager, and that for Party Cannon is you. So how did that? How'd that become you?
Well, I was in a band before Party Cannon, and I kind of got lumped in that job as well. Like I kind of realized that if I wanted to play gigs, I'd have to do it. No one else was like kind of doing this, and I got into like the role, like I used to like drive bands around the UK and things like that. So seeing them do stuff and just kind of getting their hands-on experience, like picking their brain about how they're booking gigs, how they're contacting the people, things like that. So I kind of went, right, cool. I know how they're doing it. Maybe I can apply to my own band. Because at that point in time, like we started Power Can, I was like 19. I'm fucking 30 now, so it's a scary thought. At that point, all the other guys in the band really knew were you go and play a gig, you go to Every Blacks and sell tickets on like a fucking Tuesday night. That kind of thing. And they're like, guys, we're going to skip this. We're going to play to people who actually give a fuck and not hassle our friends. Because the band was in before it was just your typical teenage high school band. You get support slot, you sell tickets to your friends, you don't do anything for 8 months, then you get another support slot, sell tickets to your friends, that kind of thing. They really did the drive to kind of go far abroad or go to England and things like that, or network with people and set their own gigs. And I think the turning point was, do you remember the band Cerebral Bore from Scotland?
Yes.
From Glasgow?
Yes.
Yeah, they played Damnation one time without the vocalist, actually.
Yeah, they
did. I knew a bunch of guys who knew that band, and just seeing how they operated, it was all DIY. I kind of opened my eyes that I can just do this as well. Like, there's nothing stopping them. They're unsigned. They're touring Russia. They've gone to America a bunch of times. They're playing with bands I really like. So they're doing it. Why can't I do that? So I kind of went down the rabbit hole of, if I network with this guy, these are gigs I put on, that guy's more. I send him a demo, talk to these bands here, like talk to this. I just kind of always really wanted to travel around and play music. So I just got a step on how to do it. And I just kind of, I knew if I wanted to do it, I'd have to do it myself.
So that made you the unofficial agent then, right? So where did you feel like, okay, you make the point of, the Ivory Blacks, which in Glasgow is the equivalent of any of these places in Manchester, Birmingham, London, the local club show you can get on 300 capacity kind of thing. When was the first time you feel like you kind of struck gold out with that Glasgow scene, that you got yourself something, a decent tour or something, you were a bit like, good, that's great, I've learned how to do this?
The first ever party cannon gig was actually in Newcastle. So straight away I thought, right, we're kind of onto something. We built a demo and straight away we got offered gigs in England. Like, cool, it's shows people are interested and willing to take us down from Scotland. They're willing to put money down and put a risk in us. Cool. So I knew we're kind of maybe onto something straight away, or the scene was small enough to kind of get us out there. But I think the first time we really struggled, I say, was in 2012. We were offered to play Malta Death Fest, and it was like our first European gig, and we got offered like a year in advance. So we had played like 4 or 5 gigs before then. I think at that point I realized, cool, this is a serious thing that, well, maybe not a serious thing, but this is a thing people are willing to invest in, and there's a reach for it, and there's a pull. We're doing something right. So when that happens, like, cool, we need to play as many gigs as possible before it comes up, just get a name out there. So when we actually go to Europe and stuff, there's like some kind of audience. So I knew they were there, just find a way to get to them.
Okay, so did you say Malta Death Fest?
Yeah, Malta.
Oh, okay, so they make the offer, they reach, get to this band for Dunfermline in Scotland and say what? Like, are they actually, because the thing is, right, most bands, like even considerably decent bands, like bands we consider big in the scene, we can go about the UK and play a show for less than £1,000, right? And not lose money. They can cover the cost and go somewhere for less than that. At the point I always make, if you want to make money being a band, be a wedding band. You know what I mean? You make 10 times more money than you'll be actually being a fucking good touring British band. But going to Malta is an expense. So at that point, do they say to you, well, listen, we've got £300 you can try and go over here, because going to Malta is going to cost you the best part of £1,000 just to get there as a band. So I'm not asking what they offer as a fee, but was there something there to say that there was enough of an investment for them that you could get across and not cost yourselves a lot of money?
Yeah, and they give some money towards like flight stuff and like good hotels and things. So straight away, seen that, and the bands that we're playing with were popular bands in like death metal stuff. Bands like Beheaded, Blasphemy from Italy, and things like that. Carnage from Switzerland. Bands I really liked. So the bill itself was pretty stacked, and cool. They wanted to actually put down some money and investment on the band so we could go over and play with these bands we actually look up to.
Yeah.
So they're like, cool. I know we're definitely onto something here. It's worth doing. This is worth our time. But to drive to Bournemouth to get an actual flight that went to Malta on those dates. So I remember telling guys going, this is going to be a commitment. This is, at this point, we know we need to take the band a bit more seriously if we're going to be doing things like this, going to be making these kind of investments. People are going to be expecting stuff from us.
Yeah. So you've got that, because that's like, there's a lot of great bands in the UK that have just not really done much out with their home city, or they've maybe done a couple of wee gigs where they've got a lucky break. But that's probably a decision you need to make when you're a band where you're going to drive to Bournemouth, fly to Malta, do a show in Malta, fly back to fucking Bournemouth. So let's say in the best case scenario, 3 days of your life, 3 days for you to go and do this 40-minute set in Malta. Were all the party cannon invested enough at that time to say, right, let's do it? Or was that when you started getting people saying, listen, I was in this for the Ivory Black show, or maybe getting a Dying Fetus slot if I ever came to Edinburgh? I wasn't in this to take 3 days of my life to fly to Malta.
Yeah, man, I came apparent pretty fast. Our original drummer, he was not down for like going to England and things like that. He was not really up for like weekly practice and things. He never came out and like just said that. He'd always kind of just like throw a spanner in the works, or just ignore texts and things, or just kind of complain about stuff. He never up and went, I don't want to do this, but you could tell it was there. So we made the decision to get rid of him. Like, he was in the band twice, and both times we ended up just getting rid of him. But when it came to that, he was kind of freaking out about Malta a bit. He's saying, we don't know if it's legit, we don't know if it's going to be sketch or not. All we have is their word and things. Like, I'm like, you can see it's like the second one that's happened before. It's a guy from Beheaded doing it. So it's just like excuses after excuses, and it wasn't practicing stuff. So we eventually had a band meeting. It sounds so like conniving when you say it this way, but we had a band meeting where we all just mutually decided that we're going to get someone else in, which is going to get like a hired gun to go and play these gigs.
Yeah.
And when we did that, we got my friend Ewan, who plays in my other band, the Next Saturday, to fill in for these dates. And when he came in the band, he's like an amazing drummer. It sounded like the kind of fully realized version of Party Cannon we've always wanted. And we're fuck right. We're playing. It's going to be playing these big gigs. There's going to be people there. This is the kind of standard we need to set.
Yeah.
So we need to really up the game. We can't just be a local band that's, I don't know, turn up there and just kind of hold it together or not perform to the standard of these other bands. Because we're playing like legit bands who tour the world and stuff. At that point, that's a real eye opener. Like, cool, this is what a band can sound like and what it needs to sound like if we're going to be doing these gigs.
I think that's a quite an important distinction to make, because there's absolutely nothing wrong in the world to get involved in a band because you want to play some live music. I mean, I'd love to, if I had any talent at all, or even knew the difference in a fucking bass guitar and drum kit, I might have a bash it myself. But there's no issue with doing that. But if you've got other guys in that band that are getting offered shows in Malta or then getting elsewhere, and it takes, as you say, fuck man, at any age, getting in a car, driving to Bournemouth, flying to Malta, again, as you say, there's no as if it's like, guy, you get 10 grand already in your bank account and saying, just come across here. I mean, a lot of that you're showing up, and you do hear horror stories of people going, even big bands, going to places in America and be like, oh shit, we're in a dive bar, and a guy fucking, Ben Phillips compliment on the podcast, and here the guy fucking some Alabama with a gun and his waist belt saying, oh, listen, you will be playing and we'll pay you afterwards. And like, aye, okay, we will be playing then, and that's wee horrible fucking dive bar. So it's not as if anything's guaranteed either. I mean, you look at the amount of these festivals that just seem to get pulled 24 hours notice. So I think that's an important distinction as well for, as you say, if you view yourself at that point as a small Scottish slam death metal band, I mean, it's niche enough, but then having to say, right, okay, well, who's into it and who's not. But post 2012, is that when you kind of get yourself settled into, this is the lineup and this is where we're going to go for here?
Yeah, kind of. I think 2012 was when the band really started to take it more seriously. Obviously, went to Malta the first time. When I went to Malta, we met a bunch of other people there. We met a band called Basement Torture Killings from England. And I started talking to them, and he's like, I'm bringing Prostitute, Disagreement, and Erectile Specma over. Do you guys want to play that tour? I was like, fuck. We've been in like Malta for like a fucking minute, and we're already getting tour offers in like UK for bands that are going to like sell out like venues. Like, yeah, cool, we need to up the game there. We need to get like a solid lineup. So from there on, the lineup was a bit up and down. We had a lot of members come and go at a point. So we came back from Malta, and our fill-in drummer at the time was like, right, I'm going to go back to the Next Saturday full time, just because that's my band. I was just on loan, and cool, that was the agreement. We go back. So our original drummer came back. He was like, oh, things have changed. I'm going to practice the songs and stuff. I'm going to commit to these gigs because I think at that point you could see the band was a bigger thing than he thought it was before, or it was worth the time more. So I came back, and it went well for a while. And then, God, I remember, we got offered, we got offered. I really hassled the promoter in Glasgow to put us on with Exhumed. Exhumed was like my favourite band ever at one point. And the night before, like, I mean hassled, like I really, really hassled the guy. I sent him like emails every day, like to get on this gig. And I saw he was like announcing other support bands, like, hey man, there's other support bands, but I'd be like hassling me, you need to put us on. Then he eventually did, he caved. Like, cool man, you're not gonna regret this, we're gonna be great. I sent him all our demos and stuff, and he's like, cool, we just recorded this. So yep, it sounds good. Looking forward to having you guys on. Night before, the drummer bailed on us. He claimed he had too much uni work, or something like that. It's just some like really feeble excuse. So I had to go with the reporter and be like, we can't play, even though I know I spent weeks hassling you. And I'm just saying, that's the position he's put me in. I'm now fucking in this guy's bad books because I've like done this.
Aye.
But at that point, I was when we fired him again for the last time. Like, okay, we need to get a fill in, new drummers, and do a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. When would this have been? What year would that have been?
That was 2013, like the first.
Right. Okay, so not long after Malta, maybe about a year after your Malta show, right? Okay. Maybe
a few months after Malta. Malta was in September, I think, and this was probably around March time. So, yeah, it didn't last too long. They did that, then we ended up just getting a bunch more fill-ins, like for these tours. Around it, we got this guy called Tom Walker from England. He played in a band called Scattergy, and he's legitimately the world's fastest drummer at one point. Yeah, he was amazing. Very interesting person, but unspeakably good musician. So we had him in the band. It was like a riot. It was like a lot of fun. So we played a gig in Glasgow with him that I put on. It was like bands like Desecration and Emptied. That was like a really good gig. And after that gig, our guitarist, our original guitarist Jack, I don't know if you've seen the cover of our EP, Part in Half. It's a guy cut in half covered in graffiti. That's the original guitarist Jack. He quit the band. He had a bunch of stuff going on in his life, and quite a bit of falling out because, yeah, he was. I don't want to say anything bad about him because I know what was going on now in his life, but we're just like, there's just a lot of arguing. He was just like wasn't turning to practice things. He just being really difficult about stuff. So eventually I up and quit. So I had to get like another guy in. So for the best part of 2013, we were a three piece with like two fill-ins, and we just kind of scrambled together to like make things work. So we got a guy called Hamish from a band called Last Generation to fill in guitar for a while. So we went and did a bunch of tours, a bunch of gigs, and all went really well. We played Vienna with that lineup as well. We also released Part in Half in that year, and that's when the band started to really get noticed. Because we took a picture of Jack on an album cover. It was actually his idea for an album cover and stuff, and did that. But he quit the band before we actually recorded it, so we ended up releasing the CD with an ex-member's like body on it, who wasn't talking to me at the time. I'm like, cool. We're not signing anything. I don't think there's any like legal standing here, so I can just distribute this image of this ex-member that hates me.
Well, all this,
all over the world.
The point I'm getting to is all about the management and about taking this sort of like, are you the guy through it all? Are you the guy for booking the tours, then dealing with the promoters, then making sure you are paid, and then getting the flights sorted? And are you that guy through it all?
Yeah, so I was that guy for it all, which is kind of what led to like tensions in the band. Because I'm like, right, you need to give me this money by this date. We're playing these gigs. We need to be rehearsing at these times. You need to be up and ready by this point. You need to make sure you have a passport and stuff like that. So I was just on everyone's back all the time. I was just like the big band dad. Turning up, taking out their money, telling them to fucking behave, to fucking hug all these promoters, and like, don't embarrass us in front of this guy. Fucking, I put so much effort into this. You need to be there. You need to make sure. I understand why.
You know the boy that organises the 5-a-side or the sevens trying to get the £4 at the end of the night, and he's just it's the worst job in the fucking world as a guy who organises the 5-a-sides. That sounds like the amplified version of that. So I take it. I mean, so obviously I'm going to get to the point that you now have management. So did you enjoy it? I mean, or did you feel that it was worth what was coming out the other side?
Yes and no to the point. Like, see, when we got good gigs and it worked out, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed meeting people. I enjoyed being like, the face of the band and stuff, because I'm a lot interested to be that way. But just like managing my band and kind of telling people to, be in the right place, kind of managing people's schedules and things. And when gigs didn't work out, felt like, so if we booked a gig and I spent ages like organizing it, then for whatever reason the gig didn't happen, that would be like weeks of my life just gone.
Sure. That's how I kind of felt about it. Is it your fault to your band members? I mean, they're a bit like, fuck's sake, Chris, here we are in Wakefield and there's no fucking gig. I mean,
yeah, I don't think they're like really angry about that, but that's just how it is. Like, you organize this enough, fucking, you're the guy to deal with this. Why is this not happening? I thought we're getting this and that. It's like, I thought so too, but it's kind of, so basically there's a lot of responsibility in a way, especially for a band that's like kind of getting known as well. But I'm glad I did it though. Glad I did it because it kind of made me know what to look out for and things, and kind of know what's a good deal, kind of figure out what we're kind of worth in ways, and just how things go. And in a way, I kind of felt it made the brand of Party Canada a bit stronger because it was done by the band. There was no kind of middleman. I was very transparent with everything we were doing. So when people talk to us about band or anything like engage like social media and stuff, it was all like me. Like just very transparent about everything. This is what we're doing. We're doing it because we love playing. It was never like, there's just never like any kind of curtain over it. It was just a very transparent way to be with your fans. And I think a lot of people latched on the band because of that and kind of stayed with the band. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I kind of feel the same a wee bit with Damnation. It has been me sort of since the start. And I'm quite a transparent, I don't know if that's the Scottishness in both, despite your Californian accent. I've just find it's the best way to deal. At least you always know where you are. You always know where you are. Win, lose or draw. It's not a case of you're getting found out afterwards, or you've said one thing to one band, or you've told them you've got to be a fiend and they don't try to pay it in that crap. okay, sometimes things work, sometimes don't, and you're right. I don't really have folk blaming me as such because I don't have band members. I mean, there's myself and Paul, but when the shit hits the fan, I need to deal with myself. You know what I mean? It's like there's no one else to go to after that. But let's say, will you stick with let's stick chronologically then, because we've kind of went off that track. Because you've done it's a Bay Area Death Fest. You've been to Asia. You've been that night. So we've still got you in this managing the band, being booking agent. Tell me a wee bit about how that came about. How does a band from Dunfermline playing this niche genre of death metal get themselves to America and Asia?
It's a good question. I'm still asking myself that, to be honest. So the first American tour came about because we released Party and a Half, our first EP. That was like a proper, like, good release. We released that on a UK label called Autopsy Records. It's quite it's like a small thing, like a very small print, like 100 CDs and things. They got us a little bit of press. But the cover itself just kind of gained a lot of traction. So people from all over America were getting in touch with me, like, right, I want to distribute your CD here and stuff. So I ended up doing a lot of trades with a lot of people. I just kind of how it goes in like underground death metal. If you trade your CDs to a distro, most people just buy anything that's in that distro, and they go to gigs. The distro's there to see. I was like, what the fuck is that? Why is that cover like that? It's insane.
Why is that guy confetti coming?
Yeah, what the fuck? So they're like check out. So just from things like that, we eventually got our first like bigger label offer, which is Gorehouse Productions, who we're still currently signed with. So you got in touch with me, right? I want to reissue Party and a Half.
Oh, see you after, Chris.
Yeah, see you later, man.
Good to see your professional outfit now.
Nobody judge me how I live.
So, for the folk listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, whatever, Chris's camera just fell off his desk. So,
fuck's sake, man.
Back now.
I've got like an iPhone on a tripod on top of a subwoofer.
do not touch the desk. Do not touch the desk.
Oh.
So you're up to the label. You kind of get involved with the label.
Yeah, no, it's Carlos Agora got in touch with us. He's like, I want to reissue Part and a Half and see how it does. And see how it does well on my label. I want to send you for like 2 free albums or something. I looked at his roster. It's pretty cool. He had like Parasitic Ejaculation, bands like that, or bands of light. There's bands I heard of. He's worked with like Cerebral Incubation and things. So cool. These are like popular bands in our scene. I got some character references from a few people who've like done business with him, and I'm like, yep, he's a good guy. He's got good contacts. Does like good press and things. He books tours and fests. So cool, that makes sense. We'll send this guy. So he reissued Part and a Half with all our demo stuff. So that means there's 2 versions of it. And there's the 3-track version, which we did for UK level, and there's the Gorehouse version that's got like 6 tracks in it. That's like half the EP, half demo tracks. And I did really well. It was like one of his highest selling things on his label. So cool, we'll send you for the album. So we announced we're working with the label, announced the album, and then all these offers just started coming in. This guy called Andrew Manganiello from Bay Area Death Fest got in touch, and he's like, I want to bring you guys over for Bay Area Death Fest. What would it take? I want to book a tour around it with you guys, Parasitic Ejaculation and Epicardiectomy, who are like a Czech band who are they're still really popular in the scene, but at that point, they're like the kings of like European slam, and they're fucking huge in America at that point. It's like, why is this happening? Why does he want us in the service? This is like fucking mad. And I just went from there. Him and our label worked together and booked us the first West Coast tour.
And it gets back on the timeline as well. So when's this? What year's this?
So there's 2014. The EP was released by Gorehouse, and then the tour happened in 2015. Okay. So we released our first album in 2015 to line up with that tour. So like the actual release date was Bay Area Death Fest. As when we turned up, as when we got on CDs, we had like promo tracks and stuff beforehand, but an actual release gig was Bay Area Death Fest, which was 1,000 people in the metro in Oakland. That was insane. That was like the biggest thing we'd ever done at that point.
So you arrived there, okay, so you go across, you're doing your first thing in America, you arrive and it's a 1,000 capacity festival. Is it outdoors, indoors? Give listeners a bit of context of what is it you showed up to?
It was indoors in Oakland. Oakland is probably one of the roughest places in like California. And if you're like, don't go outside for too long, don't be like drinking any alcohol outside, don't order these like colors outside and stuff. Like, cool, I'll just stay in the venue. The lineup was pretty insane. It was bands like Necroptic, Origin, Distant Tomb from Australia as well. God, I can't remember else on the lineup. I think Cal Decapitation played that year. I can't remember. Either way, it was quite big bands.
And was it capacity? Was like 1,000 people there? Absolutely rammed.
Yeah, it was absolutely fucking nuts, man. I think it was sold out that year. It was totally packed, and we got on stage. People were hyped to see us. Like even before we got on stage, we had sold like nearly $1,000 over merchandise,
Right.
and people were like taking pictures of me and stuff. Like this lady came up to me and she's like, "Can you sign my bra?" I was like, "Okay." I don't even know how you know what I look like. There's like barely promo pictures of us. Like, okay, it's fucking bizarre. Like, yeah, people seem to just really know who we were at this fest. I remember we got on stage. I went to plug in my bass, and no sound came out of it. And the guy's like, "You need to go on in 2 minutes." I was like, "Oh my god, our bass isn't working. What is happening?" All I could hear in my head was just like white noise. Like my brain just wouldn't work. Like, yeah, this is it. I knew this was too good to be true.
So,
and,
because to sort of get an idea of what's happening. So you're a band. You've done a few shows. You've got your gig across in Malta. You've done some stuff, and you're saying this is the. So what's the kind of shows you've been playing before you went to go and support Origin and cattle decapitation and fucking America? So I mean, what had you come from to go and do that?
Came from playing to like 30 people in Barrowlands and stuff, like in the UK.
Aye.
A gig that wasn't the biggest gig we played at that point was Malta Death Fest, and that was 300 people, I think. And to me, that was like insane. Like when that happened, I didn't think the band would even go further than that. Like, yo, we played Europe. That's probably it. I'll probably just fizzle after this. We kind of gone as far as a band like us can go. Kept getting offers. We kept kind of just going like, yo, do the ride this until we stop enjoying it or until people stop listening. Here I am 10 years later doing the Damnation podcast. But yeah, so I think the gig we actually played before America, the last one, was a gig in Leeds. And it was at Temple of Boom. I think there was 70 people there, which is awesome. Like 70 people is like a good number, but that was like a fest. That was like a festival in Leeds. There was like 70 people. And I was what I was expecting. I was expecting America just to be like that as well. I thought we'd turn up and just play like nobody. Nobody would give a shit. It'd just be one of those things we did because we could.
Yeah.
But,
which in itself is a bonus. So you get there and you play that set, and that's obviously fantastic. 1,000 people fucking in America. I mean, it's incredible. Now I've had several folk on the podcast, Paul Bearer, Ghostbath, Orange Goblin, that have described sometimes when you go to America, there's a bit of a shit show. I mean, there's a bit of a when you go there and like you're not treated I mean, I've no mentioned in a while, but you get America is like the fucking bottom rung of the ladder. Even if you're a big band who might sell 1,000 tickets somewhere in Europe, you're a fucking karaoke band. And then you get the UK, which isn't the greatest. Then you get Europe, which is really good. And then you get Japan, where everybody's the Beatles. So when you're party cannon and you're saying, right, okay, you played a festival in Leeds to 70 people and nothing wrong with it. Well, it sounds like a right good day out. But you're in America now and you're going to tour around about that. So tell me, like, what the fuck's going on when you're showing up at these venues as party cannon for Dunfermline?
So, right off the bat, our tour was a very shit show, man. There's a lot of like miscommunication between our label and the booking agents and stuff. No disrespect to anybody, they all did their best. It wasn't there was like no malicious intent on their part, but fuck, man. So we turned up, and Paris ejaculation, like, we have no van. Carlos was going to get a van, but he's told me now it's been double booked. So we have 2 weeks of a tour, and there's no van. So we're going to go find one now. Like, cool, that's all fine. The festival didn't have anywhere for us to stay as well. So right before I got on the flight, this guy I never met before in my life, guy Jono from Parasitic, the vocalist. I can't say enough nice things about him. He put up with a lot of shit because we're just so incompetent and had no idea what was happening. Like, can we stay at your house? And we'd ship stuff to the US. It was kind of sitting in his house. I was like, right, man, I know I've already shipped stuff to your house, but can we also just stay there? We were meant to get like a hotel and stuff, but it doesn't seem like fucking happened. Be like, yeah, cool, man. 5 Scottish guys I've never met in my life and just stay in my house with me and my brother. Like, thank you, man. And we turned up and asked him to drive us everywhere. Like, hey, man, he'd go to Guitar Center. I made him go to Guitar Center like 2 or 3 times in a day. We're all jet lagged as fuck. And he couldn't understand any of our accents because we're like tired, falling asleep. Yeah, we're just making a mess of things. Like, everything was just going wrong. I remember like smashing something in his house by accident. Like, fucking hell, I can't believe I'm doing this to this guy. I made him drive like,
I'll come across it. I'm just ruining this guy's fucking life.
Yeah. he lived in San Jose and the airport was in San Francisco, and I was like an hour drive, and he went and got all 5 of us over like the course of like a few days, as if he had nothing better to be doing. Like, hey John, again, sorry, can you go to the airport and get a drummer now? Then can you drive us to the festival and things? And yeah, cool. So he put up a lot. He really put up a lot with us, and they eventually got a van sorted, and the van was like half the size of what we needed. So half the touring party went in the van, then the rest of us, which is just like 4 members of Party Cannon, toured the US in Jono's Toyota Corolla from like the fucking 90s, which was like a little box car. I can't believe we managed it, but we could barely fit in it. It was like a last minute thing. When we put our guitars in the boot and we reversed the car down, the bumper, there's so much weight in the back in the boot that the bumper was just scraping off the ground. So we just went around all the West Coast like this, and John was freaking out for like the first 2 days, which is fair enough. But he eventually came around. He eventually learned to accept who we were.
So yeah, right, okay, this is fucking brilliant. So
yeah,
you're across here in half a van and a Toyota Corolla, and he's getting from venue to venue. But firstly, how far are you? Because everybody always talks about America, you could just tour it for years and still know all the nightclubs. You know what I mean? So how far are you touring each day, and also what happens when you get there? Because again, it's still just niche Scottish fucking death metal in this behemoth of a country. I mean, is it what size of gigs are we talking about? What kind of crowds are we getting?
So the drives on that tour ended up being, on average, 8 to 10 hours a day.
Got close to London.
Yeah, because the main headline band, Every Cardiac, their guitarist is Russian, so he had to go for like interviews and stuff to get into America, because they don't like Russians apparently, and apparently it's quite hard to get a visa if you're Russian. So they took ages to confirm they're actually doing the tour. So by the time they confirmed, they had like fill up his dates like as fast as possible. So they was like, right, we booked the tour. You just might want to Google some of the drive times, because it looks insane. And yeah, it was just nuts. Literally most days is like 8 hours from like state to state. So we started California, go to like Texas, Denver and things like that. Yeah, the first stuff we went was Texas and did Portland, Denver, we did Utah. We didn't do New Mexico, but yeah, a bunch of tours like that. One of the gigs we turned up for, and there's no one there, so we just didn't play. That was Idaho. We just had a day off instead.
So you drove 8 hours to fucking Idaho, right? You get to where the gig's going to happen. Were you these about a 3-band bill, was it? And
3-band bill.
And no one's there. No one.
Pro didn't really know what's happening. It's like, fuck it, we're just gonna take a day off and hang out in Boise, Idaho for a bit. It ended up being like a really good day. Like we throw around. Yeah, so the gigs were kind of like wildly varying. Most of the gigs were really good. It was at least like most gigs were at least 30 people a night. Some gigs ended up being like 100 to 200 people, which was pretty mad. I think the most surprising gig of the tour was we played Denver in Colorado, and we played like a floor show in a bar. A place called Bar, which I thought was kind of weird. Yeah, so we played Bar in Denver, Colorado. It was just a floor show. We got a bunch of warnings, and there was like heroin addicts everywhere and stuff, so be careful in Denver. It's meant to be like really rough. So we just set up in the middle of like at the back end of this pub. There's still like booth seating everywhere. People just like pushed seating around, and literally 200 people turned up. Like before we could even play, we were selling out like merchandise and stuff. It ended up being one of the maddest gigs I've ever played in my life. People were stage diving off the bar. Fucking folk were getting hurt in the pit. Yeah, it was insane. It just ended up being like such a good night. It was insane. Did
you get any indication of why? Did you get any indication of why you went to Idaho and 0 people showed up, and then you went to the next place and playing as you're saying, on the floor? Is this one of these gigs you say like there's no monitors? You're just like fucking play. And there's 200 people, and then like 200 people's a big deal no matter where you are. You know what I mean? If you're playing a home game. So did you get that promoter and that say like the slam death scene here is insane, or the Party Cannon like were on fucking a local podcast, or like was there some reason why you could get from one state to the next and go from 0 to 200?
No idea, man. Apparently America's is like that. Some states are just dead. Some states are amazing. All the promoters seemed quite as surprised as we were. Like, oh wow, there's actually people here. It's like, I know. Fucking should be nice to promote already, right? But yeah, it's just unexpected. Like, it just seemed like no rhyme or reason. Some states are amazing. Some states weren't. The kind of states you'd expect to be good were good. Like, we played Los Angeles on like a Thursday night, and there was like over 100 people there. I was like, yeah, that's like a really good gig. Then we played Vegas the next day. There was like a lot of people there for the first band. Then they stopped playing, but they all left. And it played like 10 people. Right. And I'm like, oh man, this has been good. This has been a good string of shows. Then we got on, and it's like no one there. Okay.
Right. Oh man. And so you made it. The Toyota Corolla made it. It done the full 2 weeks and got back to the poor bastard.
Yeah. I couldn't fucking believe it, man. John, we called this car Old Bessie, and every day was a blessing.
Every day was a blessing with Old Bessie. So, okay, so that's America. Tell me, because my heart needs it, that you went to Asia and it was fucking total royalty treatment, 5-star hotels, 600 people a night, lots of money made. Tell me.
Yes and no. It takes a pretty wild turn, man. Like, so we're on tour with this band called Waking Cadaver. I don't know if you remember him from MySpace.
Waking Endeavour?
No, Waking the Cadaver.
Right, okay. I'm starting to get your accent now. Waking the Cadaver. Okay.
Yeah. So Waking the Cadaver, they just reformed. They're like a really popular MySpace band. And they reformed, they did a big American tour, big European tour. Then we got invited to put an Asian tour. And it looked amazing. So the dates for that were Bangkok in Thailand. Then it was going to be Indonesia. Then it was 2 gigs in the Philippines, Korea, China, then 2 gigs in Japan. I absolutely love Japan. I'm one of those people. I've been to Japan a bunch of times. So an idea of playing Japan has always been like my life goal. Like, people have screenshots of me saying, as soon as I play Japan, I can put my bass under my bed and become a proper adult. So an idea of being able to play this was like a dream come true. And they're one of my favorite bands as well. All too good to be true. I remember before we went, a singer was like, I don't know if we should play Indonesia. I hear a lot of bad things. I work with some people from Indonesia, and they say it's very, it can be quite sketchy, especially if you're like a touring musician or if you're just like not from Indonesia. I literally just said, shut up, story. You're just panicking for no reason. Then it turned out we couldn't play Indonesia because the promoter couldn't afford working visas for all the bands.
Right. So
we ended up just having a gap in the schedule. We can get out whenever we played Indonesia. So turned up in Thailand. Gino, the tour manager, came and picked us up. Took us to get some food. It was all legit. It was amazing. We played to like 100 people that night. We made so much money on merchandise. We stayed in a nice hotel afterwards. That was an incredible experience. Then we had the day off. Waking Endeavour flew to Indonesia. We stayed in Thailand, in Bangkok. We had a nice day off as a band. We ran around a bunch of temples. We got some nice food. We just did a nice touristy day. And then at night, me and our vocalist went to this place to get Thai massages, and that was all fun. I was like, man, this has been a really good day. I'm really looking forward to going to the Philippines tomorrow. And so I got a Thai massage, like, I've never felt relaxed before. It's all good. I looked at my phone, and I had a message from the bass player from Waking as Ever being like, bad news, man. We've been arrested in Indonesia. A family forward did not start our working visas. Like, what do you mean? He's like, yep, we're being held here now, and saying we're going to go to the airport and stuff to be interviewed. Interviews take over an hour, and we go there from 9 a.m. tomorrow, and we're going to be held in cell overnight. Like, are you joking? He's like, no, I'm not joking, man. There's 2,000 people at this festival. It's an outdoor thing. We've been interviewed by CNN, but apparently we don't have a working visa. And if we play, we will instantly go to jail. If we sell any merchandise, we'll go to jail. So I remember being really relaxed on the massage, and I read that, and my body just kind of shriveled.
Okay, every bit of the lats, shoulders and triceps went.
I was like, I remember saying, remember when you said we shouldn't go to Indonesia? I was like, yes. Remember when I mocked you for saying that? Remember when I said you're being dumb? I want you to read this, and I want you to know I'm very sorry.
I apologise. Yeah. Fucking hell.
But it gets worse. So I went back to the hotel. I had like, right, guys, we have a serious talk about this and what we're going to do. Because we're due to fly in the Philippines the next day, and there's a van coming to get us. Like, we can't really contact them and stuff, so we just need to go and see what happens. And I'll just need to be really careful, because I know we're like all going legitimately and stuff, but they thought we were going to Indonesia legit. So who knows what's going to happen? Basically, what happened was the promoter paid this guy to get a work visa, then he just didn't do it. But then it kind of transpired during the night that the people holding Waking Endeavour hostage in Indonesia weren't actually the police. They were just a local gang who had orchestrated this whole thing. And they eventually figured this out. And the guys from Waking Endeavour are from New Jersey, and they're like characters from The Sopranos, so they don't like really fuck around. When it kind of clicked that these guys were just fucking with them, and that they'd orchestrated this thing, and they were like filming them the whole time apparently, in case they did anything wrong, so the guys should take it to the police. They just went mental, like grabbed the passenger's bag, they started fighting the guys, and got in the van, drove straight to the airport, and just escaped. When they arrived in the Philippines the next day, like, I can't believe you're alive. Like yeah, and they're just like going nuts the whole time. Like our tour manager, Gino, he's like this little guy, this little Chinese guy. He's like a really nice person. He's like really upset with the whole thing. He's like booked like immolation. He's booked the cryptops and stuff in Indonesia before, and that's never happened. So he thinks he's like being targeted by these people. Like fucking hell.
Fucking hell.
I was about
to not travel to Indonesia.
Yeah. Indonesia's like the mecca for like, yeah, like Indonesia's like the mecca for slam death metal as well. When Devourment played Indonesia, like fucking 5,000 people turned up. I get messages every day being like, "Come to Indonesia." It's like, I can't find your merch in Indonesia. It's like, sell me merch. Let me do like your merch in Indonesia. Like Indonesia, like death metal is huge in Indonesia for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, Waking Endeavour, when they turned up, they were interviewed by Indonesian CNN. It was that big a deal.
Fucking hell. So by elite, right? Okay. That's it. That's the bad part of the story. And then we're going to get the good one when it all went well for Party Cannon and no one was arrested.
So we turned up to the Philippines. We're in Manila, and the place was amazing. We turned up to this venue. It was like a warehouse, and it's like a Tuesday night. Yeah, it was a Monday night, and there was like 200 people there. They all have like, they all come up to me, and they all have Party Cannon CDs, all of them. People like printed out pictures of me. Like, can you sign this, please? Like, okay, fair enough. Everyone's taking pictures. It's just insane. Like, I think I took pictures like about 100 people that night. I couldn't believe, like, I don't think I had a lot of tours like go to the Philippines, so they're just really grateful when this happens.
Yeah.
But they all just seem to be Waking Endeavour, Party Cannon super fans. This guy came up to me, was like, "This is a dream come true. Like, these are my 2 favorite bands." So, cool. We ended up playing we played this like tiny stage in this warehouse, and we played through like tiny Marshall combo amps that you get like practice space, and the whole thing was like super jank. It was an amazing night. The gig was amazing, but the cell was like pretty jank. Our singer was like doing vocals through his mic, and every time he did it, he was getting like a shock in his voice in his face. And he turned to me at one point, like, because his mic is zapping my lips. I was like, "We can't do anything about that, man." Like, there's not enough power for it.
Wait, take it for the team. Come on.
Yeah. At one point, my bass cut out at one point because something wasn't grounded right. So every time like the plug moved, they just like turn off. So there's some guy like hang out behind the amps and pushing plugs back in and stuff. But bass cut out at this point where it was just maybe me playing by myself before it was like big breakdown. And since I wasn't doing anything, I just like sang my bass part through the microphone. I took a bass off and gave it to the singer, and I just ran in the crowd and started throwing little Filipino guys around. And I got back on stage when the bass was working again, just like played this song. Fucking worked.
Okay,
then, yeah, so we played Manila at night. Then the next night was Davao City, and still in the Philippines. And it was a bit of a shanty town. Like, everyone there was really nice. We got really good treatment and stuff, but it was a very rundown place. I remember one of the guys we were with was like, the only place I've been to this rough was Puerto Rico when I was on holiday. The week before I went to Puerto Rico, a hurricane came in and smashed the place. Like, wow, yeah.
I suppose a benefit for you guys, you grew up in Fife, so like,
I'm used to it, yeah. Like,
if it looked like a hurricane a week ago.
Yeah. The place was amazing. Like, I really liked it. It was just we got a lot of warnings that maybe rough, this and that, and people were quite poor there. But we got a really nice hotel. Like, Portland started out, this is a really, really nice hotel, so that was amazing. I remember I did something really dumb though. It was like 35 degrees there non-stop, and we got to the hotel and nothing would work. Like, the air conditioning wouldn't work. We had this like old-fashioned, I'd say old-fashioned like key. You know when you go to like a hotel, you just get a key card and you slot in the wall to turn the electronics on. We had like a actual normal key that you like twist in the door.
Like fucking
So
dungeon key.
yeah, one of those type thing. So nothing to work. The air conditioning wouldn't work and stuff. Fucking the lights don't go on. I wonder what's happening here. Like the TV would turn on. Like I can't see anything on the wall to like suggest you need to turn something on. So cool. We're all just gonna sleep. And I slept on this boiling floor. It must have been like it was 35 degrees outside, so it must have been like warmer inside. And I was just like sweating so bad. I thought I was like gonna die just lying there. Then I got time to go to the gig. We all got up. I moved the door away and just slotting the wall to fucking turn everything on where you just like put the old key in. Like I just tortured my bandmates for no reason because I can't fucking look at stuff properly.
Quietly shut that door back over. It's fine, guys. Let's move on.
Yeah. So we went to the venue. The venue was a pool hall, and we're playing with a band called Human Mastication, who are like a really popular band in the Philippines. Like I listened to like them in like high school stuff, so that was like surreal. That was like awesome. There was like 400 people there on a Tuesday night, and again, we're still playing for like little combo amps. Our drummer played on. He didn't have a drum stool, so he played on like garden furniture that they like took from outside. We're fucking playing his drum kit, and I don't know who was doing lights or anything, but the strobe was just going non-stop all night.
One guy holding a strobe light in front of you.
Yeah, it was like overpowered. I'm trying to play, but the crowd were insane. Like they're just going nuts the whole night. Like everyone's going fucking mental. It was probably one of the best things I've ever played. Everyone was taking pictures that to the point I think my eyesight was actually damaged just from all the flashing. I was like sitting in the van afterwards, and there's like always white spots in my eyes. Like, oh, these aren't going away.
Done damage tonight in a fucking a pool hall.
It was like an amazing gig. There were so many people. I did not expect to ever play a pool hall in the Philippines on a Tuesday night to 400 people. But when we were trying to leave, it's probably the worst typhoon I've ever seen in my life. Probably the only typhoon I've seen in my life. It was like the worst rain ever. I couldn't believe it. The rain was so bad, like everything was like puddles that come up past your legs and stuff. We got in the van. It's just the worst storm ever, and we had to go and get 2 flights to get to Korea that night. And the van was just going at like 100 miles an hour to the airport. And at one point, I went under this bridge. I was just completely flooded. The water was like coming in the windows. I was like, God damn, this is the closest to a natural disaster I'll ever be. When I got to the airport.
You know what, Ellen, I said you sound like a James Bond baddie.
It's so surreal, right? It's so surreal. We got to the airport, and the airport's blasting Linkin Park for some reason. Like, what is going on right now? So, yeah. I really urge every band to play the Philippines if they can, because it's a riot. It'll be the best gigs of your life, and nothing will make sense. The Philippines were unforgettable experience.
It sounds it, man. It absolutely sounds it. Was that the end of that Asian tour?
No. Next day was Seoul in South Korea, and that was great. That was fine. That was probably the least busy gig of the tour, but it's still like 40, 50 people. That was awesome, man.
So, like, and you guys are doing gigs that you're going 2 different flights to get to the next gig and then doing it, like, and you're doing that without losing thousands of pounds in savings. I mean, the promotion was there because when people are looking at listening to this and say, well, how the fuck can anybody afford to fly 5 or 6 guys in 2 different flights into a country to play to 40 people, unless say 40 people are all playing £1,000 each? I mean, like, how's that possible?
So internal flights in Asia are quite cheap, but we definitely lost some money in the band from we're getting guarantees each night, so we definitely lost some money from the band business doing that. The way we kind of work Hurricane, and I'm sure a lot of our bands do, is that all the money just goes to the pot and it goes to cover any expenses that are going to not be covered by guarantees and stuff. So we got this offer, and I started settling on, matching up. So I wouldn't say we lost like loads of money, but the guarantees were kind of mostly covering like internal flights and hotels and things. The pros are all covering hotels and stuff. But yeah, so we ended up paying for some of the flights as well. But it just came out of a band account, so essentially it was just a business expense in a way. But internal flights within Asia are pretty cheap. So if they're flying like 10 people over from the Philippines to Korea, that's going to be like £400 maybe.
Right, okay.
£400. So it's kind of doable in that sense. But when I got to Korea, I'm pretty sure that guy spent like a lot of money because he took us out for a really nice meal like beforehand, and it was like pretty expensive restaurant. And the hotel I got was across the street from the venue, and that was easily like a 4 or 5 star like hotel. There's like jacuzzis in the rooms and stuff. Like oh man, this guy must be expecting quite a lot. Then we got to the venue, and the venue was insane. The sound guy was like so professional. He had all these microphones, and he's like pristine cases and stuff. He's like, "Have your selection of these microphones?" Like, cool. And the promoter had made a giant banner with the Party Cannon and Wicked Dabber logo on it. They just let us keep. Like, wow, let's put some money in it. But we played to like 40, 50 people, which is still really good. But you're putting that much money into it, like, fuck man, he must have.
Aye, it's the whole sort of juxtaposition between everything that you're doing, this whole entire story. Like, you go somewhere and like it's a Toyota Corolla in fucking first world America and try to get to the next point and 0 people showing up in Idaho, to then fucking flying out and being in the Philippines and 400 people being there, and then going somewhere else but there's 40 people there, but it's a 5-star hotel with a jacuzzi in it. It's like, it's a pretty, I mean, like the UK metal scene, I'm not saying it's predictable, but we kind of get it. We know you book Dying Fetus to play Glasgow, you get 300 tickets at the Cat House, and that's what's going to happen. And they're going to go and do that from anywhere outside London to Glasgow and back down. And then you've got you guys that are just fucking just.
Yeah, man.
I don't know, because I'm not an anxious guy, but I think if I went through one of these tour torments that you're talking about, I don't think I'd be the same person afterwards. I could lose a bit of myself, you know what I mean? Like half drowning in the Philippines to play to a fucking pool hall.
Our guitarist got cellulitis on that tour as well.
Right, fucking hell.
Yeah, so his foot swelled up and went black. Yeah, so just to add to that, after Korea, we played Beijing and China. China, by the way, is not what we expect. Well, Beijing anyway. That's a very specific part of China. I was expecting. The way people describe China to me is not what I was like. It just seemed like any kind of normal place.
Right.
They had cash machines though that scan your face, then you can just take money out, which I thought was mental.
How would they know what your face looks like?
But I couldn't do it. But if you're like a Chinese citizen, you could do it. It's just really weird. But yeah, we got to China, got it fine. That was like the one gig we were really worried about getting into and stuff. Like, we thought it'd be like some kind of hassle there. But we got there, and noticed the guitarist's foot was just horrendous. I was like, Craig, how long has your foot been like that? He's like, probably since Thailand. Like, fuck, man. Like, yeah, it wouldn't fit in my shoe anymore. And it was like completely black. Like, well, that looks like an issue, man. He's like, I'll be fine, don't worry about it. Fuck, man, it was horrendous. My mom was like a veterinary surgeon, so I was like, the only thing I can do in this situation, I'm going to take a picture of his foot and send it to my mom. They're like, what do you think this is? And my mom's like, he needs to go to hospital so bad. Like, that does not look good. Like, yeah, probably doesn't look good. But we're in China, so I don't really know, like...
What are we supposed to do for here? I don't know if healthcare came with a guarantee.
No. Apparently, just got that from being bitten by insects in Thailand. I didn't know that could happen. I didn't realize that gave you cellulitis. We didn't realize this.
Chris, we could make a whole list of all things you never realised what could possibly happen before this.
No, definitely.
Tour, man.
I was fucking nuts, man. We didn't know it was cellulitis straight away. Because why would you guess they just cellulitis?
Oh, you would.
And her singer.
You would not. I'm sitting here. As if I'm sitting here nodding as if, I would know that if you get an insect bite in Thailand, you could get a cellulitis. I'm just going, like, this sounds pretty fucking horrific. This was supposed to be the good part of the story.
Yeah, totally, man. I remember talking to her singer, and she was like, "Oh, I think he has gout." I was like, "It's not the 1700s. Why would you have gout?"
people just add stuff, and it's gonorrhea. It's gonorrhea of the food.
But yeah, China though ended up being a really good gig. I think it was like 100 people there. That was a Thursday night. So 100 people Thursday night in China. We played with a porno grind band there. I remember reading China didn't have punk rock and stuff. It really exposed kind of some ignorance I had towards China just from stuff I'd read in like papers and stuff. It's like, China's only just got punk rock. China's only just got this and that. But we turned up and there's this band that sound like Gull playing, who are like pitch shifters and stuff. Like, oh yeah, we've toured Europe stuff, played Obscene Extremes. Like, that's not always like matching up here. But anyway, yeah, the China gig was amazing. There's people from Russia there that like flown over just for a gig.
So when you're saying like you showed up and you played here with this porno green band, so you're no longer on the same tour? So you have done your own wee break off?
Oh, no, sorry. That's still no Awakening there. They're
just doing different supports with you.
Yeah, some different sports each night. And yeah, that China gig was amazing. And I remember the hotel was really interesting as well. We turned to this hotel, had this gigantic foyer that looked amazing. It was like this really old building. When we got to the rooms, and the rooms were so jank, so unbelievably like just not well kept in any way. Like paint was like on the wall and stuff. I went to one of our members' rooms, like, you need to check this out. Look at the bed, but look underneath the bed. And the room had been painted, but it kind of painted around the bed. So when you looked underneath it, it was just a completely different color from everything else. When you moved the bed around, it was just this bed-shaped like patch on the wall.
Oh, brilliant. Come
Yeah.
on, China.
Well, that was amazing.
Game, China. So, but otherwise, that was. And then you went to China and done one gig?
Yeah, we just played Beijing, then it was to Japan for 2 gigs. I don't want to sound like a snob when I'm talking about these places, because I'm really grateful to have been there and stuff, and the hospitality was amazing. These were just quirks I found really entertaining while we were there.
Listen, as I say, despite the accent, you're half a Fife, I don't think you're going to sound posh to it, mate. I mean, to be fair, you've come onto the podcast, you've got your shopping behind you, half a suitcase. It's like, I think people kind of get the gist. It's fine, it's all good.
So I just like a home office for home alone, and just kind of I bought a house and just for lockdown, and it was only kind of recently complete. So it's just like my junk room where I've just been kind of put to work.
Good. So Japan, like here, this is finally Japan's where it all went.
Yeah. So yeah, Japan was amazing. We played Osaka, and that was over 100 people as well on Friday night. That was amazing. Yeah, absolutely no hitches of that gig at all. People knew who we were. People were asking for stuff to be signed and stuff. They seemed to really know a lot about like the bands, though. Like, there was one guy came up to me. He's like, "Oh, Chris Ryan, you're in Gendo Akari as well." I was like, "How the fuck did you know that?" And he had like a fucking Gendo Akari vinyl. He's like, "Can you sign this for me, please?" I was like, "Sure." I've not been in that band for years, but yeah, I played metal. That was awesome.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. We didn't have a hotel in Osaka though. We got a night bus to Tokyo, which was like a 10-hour trip. So we played a gig, got ditched in a bus stop, and just had like sleeping on his bus for like 10 hours to Tokyo. Then we arrived in Tokyo like 8 or 9 in the morning, and we had nowhere to go. So the tour manager's like, "I've got all these shops on a hit." So he took us all around Tokyo. It was like the Supreme shop and stuff. There's all these really kind of like fancy clothes shops. Like, yeah, he's just coming out with like loads of like swag like gear or something. Fair enough. He's like, "I know a great spot." I know it's a great spot. He takes the Shibuya crossing, which is amazing. As that crossing you see in like lots of translation and stuff. Like, if you go to Starbucks, it's the best view of Shibuya crossing. So yeah, cool, man. So I went to Starbucks and I ordered something. I sat down and I remember like I fell asleep and started like I fell asleep like an hour in Starbucks. Just like leaning over my chair, like snoring like fuck. And all these people just like looking at me, and I think someone tried to wake me up at one point, but I just wasn't budging because we'd been awake for so long and doing so much traveling. But yeah, and Tokyo gig was really good. Again, that was like over 100 people. Played a really cool venue. I can't remember. I think it's like the Wall or something in Tokyo. But yeah, that was really good way to finish the tour. Yeah, no hitches of that gig. Yeah, it was great. And that tour.
So we're saying that was so America versus fucking Japan, of the Asia, that was definitely the better place to play, despite the madness of it all. To be fair, also when you see that actually going somewhere like America, and you're still bouncing about in a Toyota Corolla, and you're showing up to some gigs that the promoter didn't even remember he booked it, doesn't sound all that better than going to the Philippines and playing to 400 people and then driving through a typhoon, to be honest. You know what I mean? It's like...
I mean, yeah, I just want to point out, none of it is bad. I'm really happy we got to those. Like, I'm really grateful for like these experiences. Like, I'm in no way complaining I went to like Asia.
Absolutely.
Like,
no, people
I just don't want to make that clear. I feel like I'm
listening
on everything, but
are not. They will also know that. But it's the getting inside that tour. It's kind of like, okay, as a promoter, I don't know any of this, right? There's the fans that showed up at Damnation, they don't know any of this or how this happens and these things. And you've got also a bunch of bands. The UK's awash with amazing bands who have never done any of this as well. And it tends to be a lot of the listeners. I mean, I had a guy for an Irish band called Strangers with Guns. They got in touch all day. He was like, where the fuck's another podcast like Damnation Festival? Because I want to know more about this. Management, what the bands do if you're a party can and you get to America, how is it? If you're a party can and you go to the Philippines, how is it? And I suppose that's what it's all about. It's like, hey, it's fucking chaotic is what the answer is.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm pretty sure most bands, I know it's quite a bit of a sweeping statement, but I'm sure a lot of bands that do this don't have the same chaos that a party can tour does. Like, I'm convinced the band is cursed in some way, because it's always the week before.
When you go, sorry.
Oh, it's always like the week before a gig, something catastrophic goes wrong that you need to deal with. Or we get there and it's just, something always happens that just makes me think the band is cursed. Nothing is as easy as it's meant to be on paper. It just fucking just happens. It just goes in some direction.
Without ever being in a band and never even playing Glasgow, you know what I mean? I'm starting to get the feeling what is this, 25, 26 episodes of this in, that probably isn't. That's probably not a curse, that genuinely you go to places and even established bands find themselves in pretty weird and awful positions. And I can understand that as well, because I know a wee bit more about the promoting side, and my assumption is the UK is quite solid in its promoting. Like, somebody says they're going to pay you and you're going to have a gig, 99 times out of 100 you will get paid and you will get that gig, albeit there is always that 1 in 100 chance you're going to get fucked over. But big bands going abroad and bands that are looking up to those bands and they're going abroad saying that still happens to us as well. We still go to fucking Alabama and some guy's got a gun in his waist, fucking mouth, and you will play tonight and you'll get sent your fee afterwards. It does still happen to big bands as well. So that's what makes that pretty interesting. And that kind of leads more to the point I was trying to make even at the very start of this. So you've done all that. At that point, you are the poor bastard who's hit for every single fucking flight, hotel, the promoter, the shows you show up are brilliant. Everybody nods along, says, well done, Chris. The shows you show up are terrible. I was like, come on, Chris, why are we here? And I can imagine on tour the emotions run high. I mean, I go for a long lads weekend in Brenda. I don't want to see my pals again. I mean, the guys I grew up with for my whole life, I'd never want to see again. I can't imagine doing that through the Philippines in a flooded fucking van with your guitarist with a black foot. In fact, we need to quickly touch on him. Is he still alive?
Oh yeah, he's fine, man. He's fine. He's all good.
Right. Couple of paracetamol and it was fine, was it?
You eventually went to hospital in Japan. Like, I woke up in our hostel in Tokyo and he was gone. I just had a message from him, be like, I've gone to hospital. Like, that's good. That's a good shout, Craig.
Save your leg.
Yeah. It's a bit weird. Like, I woke up and he was gone. He's like, I've gone to hospital. So when I spoke to the receptionist, like, did a guy, like a Scottish guy, like mental hair, come down here talking about his foot? He's like, oh yeah, we went to the hospital, it's across the road. And then, oh, that's really convenient. There's a hospital right there. So we went to that hospital. Went to that hospital and I had like, pictures of him. Like, did this guy come in? Like, and they also like talking and stuff. Like, oh yeah, but we sent him to this one. And I was like 10 like train stops away. So cool, looks like I'm going on an adventure. But yeah.
Okay.
Eventually.
No, finish. Sorry, see anything that I ever interrupt you? You keep talking and I'll shut up, okay?
It's okay, man. Yeah, so eventually I went and found this hospital he was at. And I found him eventually in this pharmacy around the hospital. It turned out, I was like, oh, fuck, Chris, what are you doing? He was like, I just came to fight. Yeah. Because we stayed in Japan for a few more days. Like, I've been to Japan quite a few times because I'm a fucking nerd. And so I'll just take a storm to stay here. I'll take my guys, take my band members around places I've been before. So we stayed in Tokyo for a few days. Then we went to like Kyoto on a bullet train and stuff. And just had a bit of Holly, which is quite nice. Because usually when you're on tour, you don't always see a lot of stuff. You don't always do a lot of kind of touristy things. So it's like, cool. There's no guarantee we'll ever get back to Asia. But a band like ours, with such a kind of niche thing, you can't take anything for granted. You just kind of do what you can while you're there. So fuck it, we'll just book a few extra days off and we'll just stay in Japan and do some sightseeing. But yeah, no one expected to see the inside of a Japanese hospital on that tour.
No, and the big man was okay in the end. His foot was okay.
Yeah, he's actually fine, man. He's fucking made it. Right.
Good. Glad to hear that. So, the point I was making, so you've done all that shit. You've been hit for it all. It must be I mean, at the end of the day, you want to show up to your gig. You want to enjoy. You want to experience the fact that you made the sacrifice to get to where you don't need everything else above it, which these band, the Gordon Morrisons and Raging Speed Tom, the Tom Begleys and Bosk, the fucking Brady Conjurer. That's their whole days. There's the extra bit involved with making sure, as you say, being the band daddy. But you've handed that over, well, almost in that same swell that happened with Damnation. Basically, you signed to a management company. So how did that come about? Where was interest now finally? Because as you say, there's been an interest in Party Cannon now since 2014. So why 2021?
So the tipping point to that was Bloodstock this year. When we had to pull out Bloodstock, I fucking did not take that too well. Because yeah, so everything looked like it was going really well. We played a tour in July. It ended up being, I think it was June or July. The week restrictions lifted in England, we had a tour, and it just lined up perfectly. And that was gonna be that was like a big deal for us because obviously lockdown and stuff. We've been through lockdown and recorded an album and things. It just meant a lot to go and play those gigs after lockdown, and all the gigs sold out as well. It was just couldn't have gone better. Went off on a hitch. Perfect time as well because we booked these gigs just with fingers crossed that things would be lifted, and it just worked out. It just so happened to work out that restrictions were lifted on a Monday, tour started on a Thursday in England. So that went well. We went to Bloodstock, we all practiced. It felt like things were getting back to normal, and got to like the 2 days before Bloodstock, and drums like got COVID, can't play. Like what? And it's not just the fact that we couldn't play Bloodstock. It's the fact that there's so much hype about the band as well. The BBC were going to do a documentary that included the band. There's going to be a big segment. So there's a lot about it. Every day I was getting messages from people being like, I've stocked up inflatables at the set. I wasn't going to go to Bloodstock, but I saw you guys are playing, so I'm going to make an exception. There's a lot of hype about our set at that festival. And so when we couldn't play, it didn't just feel like, oh, we've lost the fest or we lost the opportunity. It just felt like the 6 years it's taken, or 6 or 7 years or whatever, to get the hype, to get that slot, to get people interested, was just like smashed instantly. It's like, fuck. At that point in time, we just realized how much time, like I work full time. This is not like a professional thing for me. But as part kind of is like my kind of thing in life I do that gives me my purpose in life in a way.
Yeah.
It's not my job. So it's all done in my spare time. There's things I've not done so I could work on Party Cannon. I've missed like friends' weddings, going on tour and things like that. All that just felt like it'd been like crushed like straight away. Years of work just gone in an instant. Like that's been my effort. Not to like sound better or anything like that. It's just how it is. Like
well,
when
I don't think you do. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just the fucking reality of it. Like you have, I mean, like for a band like Party Cannon to get a big slot at a festival like download it, Bloodstock, it's fucking it's massive. You're going to be in that tent. It's going to be it's a bit you guys don't need any validation, but it takes a band like Party Cannon that scene to a different place. It's like, I get what you mean, and then for it to be cruelly taken away for fucking nothing that you could possibly have done, regardless of it. I mean, I can understand that. I don't think any of these things you're saying make you sound arrogant or bitter.
Yeah, so it's just a really big blow, man. So at that point in time, I went, right, it's probably time to hand us over to someone. The band's probably at a point where someone who knows what they're actually doing could probably take us somewhere better, or somewhere open doors for us that I probably can't. So I figured we've got a manager. If something like this happened again, that's his job. It's not a big deal to him. He has like loads of contacts he can just get in touch with. He has loads of he does everything he can deal with. It's part of his routine for things to get cancelled and for things to and just like book our stuff. Also with a manager, I'm sure you know yourself, like a lot of things are just kind of like it's a who you know type thing. If you're gonna book a band and it's on someone's, if you know the guy who manages it, you know he only manages certain quality, you're more likely to look at his band, or you're actually going to read his email. Whereas if piratecanonuk@gmail.com get in touch with me, you might not even open that email. Like, fuck it, I'll just leave that for another time. Whereas this guy, this manager agent, I know a guy who works with this band, I'm going to read his email. Just things like that. He has an in that I don't have. He's taken seriously in a way that or has contacts I don't. So cool. Hand over, I see who's interested, see what the deal is. And I messaged a few people that I knew, and I was like, hey man, I'm looking for a manager. He's like, I thought you guys already had a manager and a booking agent. Is like, no. It's like, it's just been me that's doing it. I was like, oh, I remember talking to one guy, he's like, do you want a job? I was like, I don't even want to do this for my own band. It's like, I'm trying to get out. I don't want to do it for someone else's band. Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, so,
that's true as well, isn't it? Because it's weird because like what you want is a manager that's going to get you to open the door for Bloodstock and Damnation. I mean, if you're part of the canon, like if you want to separate yourself, or not separate yourself, but you want to get something different for that scene, you want to come to an event like Damnation and play to 1,600 people in Leeds. You want a manager to come and do that for you. You want to get on that stage at Bloodstock without going through 17 metal to the masses at fucking Ivory Blacks, know what I mean? And you want that to happen. But I suppose the irony in all that is you did. You actually did. Like you took the management on after you'd managed that as Chris Ryan, the manager, know what I mean? Which is a wee bit different.
Yeah, that's probably better for a band though, right? Because we've already kind of established it and they can see the potential in a band and kind of take it from there.
Well, that's what I looked at it because I made that point when I had Pupil Slicer on the podcast. Like, I mean, imagine being the Pupil Slicer agent now. I mean, agents' lives are a misery, aren't they? Like, promoters' lives are a misery, agents' lives are a misery, and managers, booking agents, we're all just fucking throwing mud at each other and seeing what sticks and how we can get deals at each other, right? So you become Pupil Slicer's manager, right? No manager, the booking agent. And before you've sent an email, Bloodstock, Damnation, Arctangent all have offers on the table for you. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, but the whole point of the booking agent is to get those offers, and people say like, we've already got them because the album they put out was so fucking incredible. And that's when I stood at the side of the stage beside your now manager Toyin, I was a bit like, fuck me, man. This guy must be looking at going, what the fuck have I just taken Cannibal Corpse? I mean, what's happening here? Like, this is insane. This is like, if I was trying to go in my wildest dreams to get part of the canon to be this band, that we're going to have a crowd at 2 p.m. in a fucking Leeds all day and have 1,600 people here. This is exactly what I aim to achieve. But at the same time, your eyes must light up and be like, well, maybe this is just the starting point to where we can go with this. Maybe this can be even fucking bigger. Maybe this can be an absolute jam tent at Bloodstock next time. Maybe a band like Party Cannon could play Download. You know what I mean? At this point, I mean, fucking the guy for Download was there. So it's not as if what would stop it? What would stop it at this point? So that's not that I don't think you deserve a manager because you don't need to go through your full life. Absolutely. You look like you're 80 by the time you're fucking 40. So at that time, like, what a treat! What for Pupil Slicer, what a treat to have that band as the band you're booking when you know the promoters are around, and when you're the manager of Party Cannon, what a treat to already have a band that you're not going to be begging at the door of Bloodstock or Damnation to try to get on.
Yeah, totally, man. It's probably a smart move to take on a band you know is already doing well and cool. They've already done this, so using my contacts, I know the guys on a different level I can give in with. Or already have that kind of CV there. Because since having Toyin as a manager, we've already been getting like amazing offers. He's already been like, he's been getting us like fees I would never even like bother asking for. So that's always good. I mean, also we're not like in it for like monetary gain, but when you get offers like that, you're like, fuck, that's insane. Why would someone like pay that like to get my band?
Yeah,
so
because again, because we can be honest to a level we thought about the actual fees now, but you guys played Damnation for less than what Party Cannon worth. Now you understood that at the time, I understood that at the time, but with Damnation comes, we paid $4,000 to put the backline on the 4 stages. You know what I mean? Like,
totally, man.
Like there's a screen behind Party Cannon that we pay to have switched on in there as well. So it's about like, and also I remember the conversation when you and I were having. I said, look, you're not going to be excited about this offer, but at the same time, when you see what the money's been ploughed into, i.e. Carcass and Paradise Lost, and try to rebuild this festival, you're going to understand that I'm trying to keep a festival together, which you did at the time. So there's a bit of that as well, whereas I suppose with you looking at it and being, a bit more understanding if you have a cold manager that just goes, well, you know what, they need 3 times that. And I'm not saying that Damnation would have paid 3 times, but at least somebody's fighting the corner for you rather than you just being, I accept that, you know what I mean?
No, totally, man. It's a guy who knows how to fight your corner in a realistic way, and he knows just how it works and stuff. And it's kind of a shield as well. Like, if he falls out with someone, it's not them falling out with a band. He's kind of like there to do it. And he's also savvy about it. Like obviously it's like a business. He knows how to run business. He knows the right things to say. He knows when to back down. He knows the best offers he's going to get and stuff. Because then we've got quite a few really cool things to announce as well that we probably wouldn't have got if he didn't like fight our corner coming up. Like gigs I wouldn't ever expect to have. So next year's going to be quite a busy one for us with some pretty interesting gigs.
Yeah. I mean, like, for you guys then to go, so you've rebooked, let's talk. You've got the Manifest thing. I mean, Manifest we accept. That's a fucking bizarre combination. You've got stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also you've got there's a lot about the slam death metal scene that people will never engage with, no matter if they like the music or not, because it's difficult, because it's almost dressed up in a way that this logo you cannot penetrate, you cannot get this, or there needs to be this way where Party Cannon does it with a smile on its face. And then you're like, ultimately for me, when I get into Party Cannon, I didn't feel it was all that much more inaccessible than a lot of the death metal that's there. But some of it's done in such a way that it's like it's difficult to even wrap your head around, like a logo you can't even read. So how am I supposed to engage? Now I need to go and try and find a fucking bracket somewhere in a poster and see what does that actually mean so I can read it to go to Spotify and listen. Where with you guys, it's like if you're ever going to get a band for that scene that was going to go to the next step, it would definitely be Party Cannon.
Yeah, I guess you make a good point. Like, I think we're more accessible without watering down the music in a way, because I think it's fair enough. A lot of people are turned up in imagery of brutal death metal. It's all mostly like gore. It's got like misogynistic themes and stuff in it. I like a lot of bands that have like gore imagery. Obviously, like, my favorite bands are bands like fucking Gorgasm and Dying Fetus and things like that, and fucking Devourment. That's all very like inaccessible stuff, and I can understand why people would not feel comfortable with that kind of thing. But I think with Party Cannon, since it doesn't really have that, it just has like the logo and stuff, people who are more likely to give it a chance and find out and they actually do like that kind of music. Because while the logo is like quite lighthearted, the music itself is brutal slam death metal. It's not like a parody version of that. It's not like watered down. It's not a pop incarnation of it in some way. It's not like My First Slam Band type thing.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that was the deal with Damnation as well. People who usually would have given like slam death metal a chance saw the logo, saw the band, went, oh, listen to this, like, oh wait, I actually do like this. So maybe further down the line, they start listening to like some Electricity or something like that. But yeah, I think it is a good way to get people on our side. And if there was like, I don't know, an entry level way to get into that kind of music, maybe our band would be it.
But I totally agree in the sense that when you listen to it, it's no different. It's no different from exit, but it gives you an entry point. At least you can read the fucking letters and know that. I booked plenty of. I mean, we had the 2 Death Fests as well. It was Infected Disarray and fucking. We had
Infected Disarray are one of the best bands in the UK.
I mean, we've booked those bands as well. It's not like I am new to this culture, but I think when you get something, and I'm a promoter as well, so what will happen is Party Cannon will play Damnation and they'll smash it. So then there's a ripple effect in that community that people see. Fuck me, is that a picture? Is that a picture there of Party Cannon playing to fucking a billion people?
That's an amazing picture.
And credit to Emily Coulter for sending me that as a gift. It's a fucking...
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's absolutely... And also, you'll not be able to see it properly anyway, but that's the picture of the guy riding the inflatable shark.
Yeah. Well.
But then what will happen is I'll get an email from Brutal Sphincter. So Brutal Sphincter said, look, is there a chance we can play next year? And you're like...
Is it Jermaine that sent you that email?
Whoever's in Brutal Sphincter, I suppose. And I'm like, so I check out Brutal Sphincter, and like, this sounds good. This sounds good. But I am promoting a festival to Ministry fans. I'm trying to get fans from We Lost the Sea. I'm trying to keep Jägermeister on board. I'm trying to keep ISO merch on board. Like, so then I look right and I'm like, okay, Brutal Sphincter, that's not a band name that's going to win any plaudits for anybody outside that scene. But maybe it's not so bad. And then you go and see them. No, it's a big shite on an album cover. It's a jobby here. It's a fucking. But you're like, I mean, come on, guys, help me, help you. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not against this music at all. I like this music, but I need to promote to more than fucking 40 people. Like, come on, help me. Party Cannon or Mr. fucking I will help you. I will make this all singing and dancing and this whole fucking thing. But Brutal Sphincter make it very difficult to keep Jägermeister on board, not me.
No, I just laugh because I know the Brutal Sphincter guys really well. And I know Jermaine's going to listen to this and be like, what the fuck? Why is the guy talking about my band?
Why is this arsehole talking about my band? But that's...
He messaged me being like, do you think Brutal Sphincter can get on Damnation? I was like, go for a try, man. But the fact we played is like weird enough, to be honest.
And it's I mean, it's fucking, I mean, what are you supposed to do? I mean, what are you supposed, like, here's the thing, right? We booked Dying Fetus, and Dying Fetus is big as they are. I changed the logo from trying to sell the tickets on the poster to the block text to the old Dying Fetus logo, the one that you can barely read what's there, for the merch, because I knew for a fact that it was Damnation fans that wouldn't have enjoyed or wouldn't have wanted to wear Damnation merch in Tesco and Sainsbury's or fucking Lidl with something that was as explicit as Dying Fetus that you could read on the back. So it was changed, but it was within their logos, and that's maybe not a concern for Dying Fetus. It's maybe not a concern for Brutal Sphincter, but it's a concern for me as a promoter of Damnation when you're trying to sell the event to Ministry fans and you're trying to sell the event to your sponsors and stuff like that. So that was I don't even know why I'm going off this fucking point, but it was just the point. Like having you,
totally.
Having you guys send that ripple effect down that community that you're getting these kind of bands looking at that and saying, oh well, we sound like Party Cannon. We could go and play to 600 fans at Damnation, and I'm sure you could, but I mean, try and make it a wee bit easier for me, please.
No, totally, man. Get your point. Marketing a band called Party Cannon is probably a bit easier than marketing fucking anal penetration or Brutal Sphincter or something like that.
When my fucking daughter goes to Damnation, I do not want anal penetration on the fucking back of your t-shirt, you know what I mean? Fuck, my poor ma, she'd be like, what am I selling?
Yeah, you should book the band Guitarist though. Have you seen them before?
See, they're the ones that really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
There was a lot about that band that I really quite enjoyed. Like, the music was good. The imagery was good. Like, the outfits with the boiler suits and the masks. I liked it. I liked that. There was a lot about that band that I thought, you know what, if that had been Brutal Sphincter that got in touch and it was Guitarist, I think at that point we'd be like, right, well, can we get, was it Czech? Are they from Czech Republic?
Yeah, Czech Republic. He runs like a bunch of booking agencies in Europe as well.
Aye, so they were one of those bands a bit like, well, you know what? Because there is something to tap into here. There's definitely, I don't think that this scene only can exist in Obscene Extreme. I don't think it can only exist in, as you say, Philippine fucking pool halls. You know what I mean? So I liked it at Damnation. I thought you guys absolutely smashed it. I think there's an audience here at Damnation who do want that. And the weird thing about Damnation, I think they want that alongside their post-rock. I think they want to go and see Maybe She Will and then go and see Guitarist. I think and that's great as well, because that's all I want. I don't want a post-rock festival, and I don't want a slam death festival. I want...
Oh yeah, totally. No, of course.
You can go there and just... You can get totally involved in it. So that was funny with it. That was funny with fucking the Brutal Sphincter. Like, I had 56 minutes left on my Buzzsprout the hosting account. So if I can get Chris on and do it for 55 minutes, I don't have to pay an extra $2 to America to put this podcast up before whenever my deadline is, because Brady for Conjurer yapped on for so long. So I think we're totally past that point by this point now. We're definitely past that point by this point. So two last things.
Go ahead.
The video. Street Fighter.
Yeah, the video. Bailey smashed it, man. Bailey, the scapegoat. I promised I'd plug him. I absolutely nailed it. 6 months worth of work. Recalling all those sprites, animating it. It's fucking amazing. Did an amazing job. People are way more into it than I expected. I thought people would like it, but the actual response has been insane. I can't believe Danny Filth himself has actually shared that. That was unexpected. So what I've learned from this experience is if you tag Danny Filth in enough stuff, he'll eventually reply to you.
He'll eventually break. So to fill people in that don't know about that, it's a track called I Believe in Danny Filth. And it's basically it's a new party cannon tune, but it's done expertly to the backdrop of Street Fighter. But what Bailey's done is put in the Barrowlands and is it the School of Art, and he's got a few scenes in there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got the cathedral from Glasgow, he's got Barrowlands, he's got Barrowlands, I can't remember what other ones are. He's got a statue in Glasgow that's got a corner of his head. I can't remember what's called.
The Wellington.
The Wellington, it's not George Square, it's the Wellington, right? Yeah, a lot of attention to detail. And if you look at the character select screen, it's just lots of guys from bands we're friends with. In fact, the guy from Gulax is one of the characters. A lot of good references to like party cannon and stuff. Like, I get cut in half at one point and confetti comes out my body. If you look at the crowds, people have like whales and stuff.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good, man. I absolutely smashed it, man.
And how did you go? Because as you say, 6 months worth of time. I mean, you need somebody to be so dedicated to recreate something like that. How did the big man? Did he say, right, okay, I'll tackle it, or how did that come about?
So we've been working with Bailey for a little while now. When we first started in the album, we brought him along just like film everything, and we ended up just getting on really well with him. We've known for a while. Like he interviewed us on his YouTube channel a few years ago, so we've kind of been in touch. But we brought along originally to film like a studio session when restrictions kind of lifted a bit and more people could be in a room, but gigs weren't happening. We went in our practice space at the time and we filmed just us like playing a few songs. We got like properly recorded and things like that. We got him to film along, and we ended up just like really getting along. So cool, Bailey. We're recording our album in January in Clydebank, so we'll just bring you along and you can just document the whole thing. And ended up, I've been working on some sprite art, so you can have little kind of flash beans and stuff to kind of promote your albums, like little 10-second clips. And our drummer was like, "Oh, you should just make an entire music video like this, and that'd be awesome." He's like, "That's gonna be a shitload of work, but you're right, that would be incredible." So that was like 6 months ago, and here we are. So some track to Danny Filth.
And to be fair, definitely, if you listen to this podcast, gets a few thousand listeners per episode. If you're listening to this, if you don't even like death metal, go and check out that video, because it's worth. If somebody's put 6 months worth of effort into making it happen, it's definitely worth a few minutes of your time just to check it out. And it's incredible. It's basically Danny Filth kicking the shit out of everybody in Street Fighter mode, and it's great, even more so if you're from Scotland and you recognise on the backdrops. And it was weird about it when it happened, and this is the whole Twitter existence, that somebody put 6 months work into it. A band from Dunfermline put their heart and soul into the tune. It all gets packaged up, and then you get some fucking virgin comes in and says, "Oh, that's actually the Spanish flag from when Franco was involved." And
yeah, man.
It so much like, and that, listen, we're not saying that there isn't some sort of political reason why that shouldn't be, or why that might not be acceptable right here, right now, but it's a fucking screenshot from the game as it happened. It's not like it's not like a bunch of boys from Dunfermline said, "You know what, my favourite Spain is Franco Spain. I'm going to put that in the end of that flag." So I mean, like that was a. I almost replied with, I had my typey fingers on the keyboard a few days. Like, I'm not even getting involved. You know what I mean? But it's
man.
For the guys that put all that effort in, that was a bit like, come on, guys, come on to fuck.
I get it, man. I get it. I mean, I'm in two minds about it. At the same time, like, obviously, why would some guys from Dunfermline give a shit about Franco's flag? Like, I didn't even hear of that point. But at the same time, I think if you see something that's wrong, maybe the guy is Spanish, you should probably point it out. So the result of that is I went and read about Franco's flag and found out he's apparently a fascist. And it was actually in the Street Fighter game. Like, oh, I did not know that. So I'm guessing historically, at some point, that was Spain's flag. So in the 80s or whatever, whenever Street Fighter 2 first came out, that must have just been Spain's national flag, and that's why it's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came to the edge. I'm sure poor Bailey and the guy that worked with him was not thinking about educational purposes after 6 months of work to make Danny Phil fly kick through people.
Oh, yeah, totally,
it's like, thank you for pointing out about that flag, mate. But yeah, it's a tough slog. But then Twitter's, well, I suppose that's the point of Twitter, isn't it? That's the
people just look for things to be angry about and stuff.
It's loaded to make sure that whatever you feel you can enjoy, they're here to tell you why you're an absolute scumbag. And finally, listen, because now I'm starting to run out of the wine, so I don't like the podcast to continue beyond when the alcohol runs out. So finally, this is your platform for the brutal sphincters of the world.
Do it, man.
Hit me up right. Well, like, you're a Damnation fan. You listen to Damnation Versus. You went to Damnation and you saw Party Cannon, and you're like, right, okay, what is in this scene? What I don't know. What band should we be listening to that represent that slam death scene?
So straight away from the UK, we've had to was the Crepitation. They've been on a go for like way over 10 years. They've had many lineups. We play a lot of gigs with them. They're like OGs of like the UK slam scene, and they're like an amazing band. Crepitation. They want to get into kind of more, kind of bigger stuff, the kind of stuff you'd first get into. Obviously, bands like Dunfermline. Early Dying Fetus is probably more slam. Internal Bleeding, bands like that. Cephalotripsy, another big one. But if you want to get more kind of gorgon things, obviously you got Bruce Sphincter, you got Gulax, you got Spasm, you got bands like Cock and Ball Torture, Early Carcass, bands like that. Go back to UK, and there's like Cold Crisis, and there's Fetal Juice, all good bands to check out. Yeah, man.
Like, don't let me forget my favourite pals band.
yeah, totally. Always sounds good. Parasitic Ejaculation, of course. Parasitic Ejaculation from California. Did a few tours then. Epicardiectomy from Czech Republic. Again, they're on that tour. Who else? Yeah, lots of good bands. See, if you, the kind of rule is, if you come up with a word and add the word ectomy after it, you'll find a slam band or a gore band.
Is that slam band?
Yeah.
Brilliant, yeah. Brilliant. And for 20, and you guys going forward now, you get new management. You've got Cranking Slots. You had Cranking Slots, and you had a Sold Out tour. You've done Damnation this year. Next year you've got Bloodstock, as we say. We'll talk about that slot. You've got Manifest. So what's the dream? Is Obscene Extreme? Is that the dream? Like, go and do that? Is that the big one?
Yeah, it's one of the big ones. I think we could definitely do Obscene Extreme someday. Usually what happens is the chance to do Obscene Extreme comes up, then someone's not available, so it's kind of... But we will do that one day. I think for a band like us, if we do like Brutal Assault or Party Sand, things like that, that'd be amazing. But I think my all-time goal for Party Cannon is just become a kind of like cult act where we don't need to do like shitloads of tours, but when we do play a gig, people come out.
Big deal. Yeah.
It's enough. It's like a bigger deal. Because we all work full time. People out in their bands with kids and stuff. We're never going to be like a touring powerhouse.
Yeah.
We still do quite a lot for what we can do, but we're never going to be in a band that does like 8 months out a year, things like that. Aye. So as long as we could get to the point where we can become that band that people go to see, it's like a big deal when they come and play. But if not, I'm quite happy doing what we're doing. Like, I think we're doing okay. It's definitely worth like the effort we're putting in. Every gig's fun. Like, we all love doing it for the love of the music. So everything else is like really a bonus, to be honest.
Aye. Well, listen, let's be fair. Like, you're 30, I'm almost 40. You've experienced fucking much more of life than I have, because I've never been almost drowned in a fucking Philippines tunnel. And I've never travelled America in a Toyota Corolla. So listen, you're winning at life, mate. You're winning. As the Instagrammers would say, you are fucking winning at life. So it's all good, mate.
Yeah, glad you think so. But yeah, it's been awesome. It's been good, man. Hopefully.
Thanks for your time, and all the best. We will definitely cross paths, and also I'll get your merch back. All right. So sooner rather than later. See you after.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Thanks for having me on.